Now, as soon as I get us up and running on YouTube, which looks like we are. Good morning, everyone. You're here with Bruce Rawles and Lynn Johnson, and we are here reading Absence from Felicity by Dr. Kenneth Wapnick, the scribing of A Course in Miracles. Let's see, and let me see if I can't. I'm trying to log in on my other computer.
Okay.
There we go. And there we go. And little complex bunch of actions, but we will be up and running live on the radio and like now. Okay.
I hear a macro automation calling your name.
I know. There we are.
Okay.
Up and the radio.
Being live
Yeah,
streamed, it says.
live streaming.
Great. Well, good morning,
All
one
right.
and all.
Yeah, really, that would be awesome to do have a macro. It just well, this because I'm doing using TeamViewer to go into my computer at home that has the radio
Oh,
software on it.
right,
Otherwise,
right.
yeah, I'd be having to travel with two computers, and I did not want to do that. So I use that TeamViewer, which I believe you probably use something
I
similar.
have used in years past. Yeah, not in the last few years though.
It's very helpful. I really appreciate it. All right, so and it's free unless you're a commercial. Like, I mean, there's some people who do it for a living, like to help people with their computer problems. So they'll use a program like that. Um, but I don't do that. All I do is run this, run the radio, run the Pal Talk, run the Zoom rooms. There we go. And all. There we are. So here we are. I think this is where I marked the book last week.
Okay.
So I don't know anything going on with you that you'd like to report out, Bruce. Anything happening with you?
Well, I enjoyed attending the 6-hour marathon a week ago for the Foundation for Inner Peace 50th anniversary. That was a lot of fun. And in a little less than an hour, I'll need to leave a few minutes early again. I'm going to be facilitating another class for School for A Course in Miracles, and we're going to be covering sections 14 and 15 in the manual. And I'll probably pull heavily from Ken Wapnick's commentary on it, as usual. And so I've got 4 different YouTube videos to upload, which I'm a little behind this month, but I'll probably get to at least a couple of them in the next few days and post them on ACIM blog. Um, and see what else. Oh, just for something fun, if people need a calendar, you can go to brucerawls.com and you can buy some calendars with course related quotes. I've got 3 different ones for course related quotes. I have the challenging, the soothing, and the humorous versions, if you will, and then a bunch of other calendars that are just kind of more generic. Uh,
Oh, and those make
that,
great
that
Christmas.
Yeah, different
Also,
places that we've been, New Zealand and Mexico and San Miguel de Allende, Mexico, just places like that, and just some fun photos and things like that.
yeah,
So
yeah, beautiful. And
and my
this last year, yeah.
first book is available there as well, and well the second as well. So and then the third is the glossary. So anyway, that's enough about my miscellany.
That yeah, that's okay. All right, show off. I know
Anyway,
I'm kidding. You know
yeah,
that.
yeah.
All right.
Well, I need a list of all the places you've been, you know, delving into online and all the. Maybe you could update me at some point when you get a break in your schedule with all the places where, what we're doing is streaming as well as all the other programs that you do with ACM Gather.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's
And
great.
and we should plan a time to just have a one-on-one Zoom and figure out how to collaborate on the website and all those things. So
I love that. Thank you, Bruce. I
yeah,
appreciate that so much because, yeah, when I get back home next week, I'll have be able to figure out my schedule, et cetera. And
okay,
um, yeah, because I would love to do that as well.
that sounds great.
Yeah, and there's people have suggestions, to do like Dove Fishman has a list that he keeps adding to of Ken Wapnick quotes
Uh-huh.
uh, that are just treasure great quotes, and he'll send them out to you if you want them. But
I
we could.
actually, I actually, he did send me out a huge list, and I did post a rather lengthy list on acimblog.com of thank you, Dove, for that, and some really great ones. Yes, indeed.
Okay, well, good.
So I
Yeah,
don't, I don't know if how many he's done since I posted that blog post that he sent me. Oh, gosh, probably at least a year ago now.
yeah, he's
But
added to it quite a bit.
I can imagine. Yeah, yeah. And there's tons of great quotes on the in the glossary too, which is just glossary.acimblog.com for anybody who wants to
Oh,
check that
yeah,
out.
that glossary is stunning. It is so helpful.
Well,
And
the main idea is the print version that Ken did is brilliant, and I would highly recommend that be everyone's first resource and first place to look. But if you want something that complements that, and or if you want something that's online where you can just really quickly find a whole bunch of references to a topic in the course, that was the intention. It was really to complement what Ken did, and then also have a hot link to the web edition of the course with a lot of course. And there's a dozen or so little fun Easter eggs of humorous videos that are hidden, tucked away in different places.
yeah, and that's very cool. Little thing,
So
I don't know, like Star Trek and that kind of stuff. So,
yeah.
yeah, we
Well, should we pick
appreciate.
up where we left off?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. So as regular listeners might know, Lynn and I are reading from Absence from Felicity, the story of Helen Schuckman and her scribing of A Course in Miracles by Kenneth Wapnick, PhD. I was just flip over the cover so I can read it fast. And I have us on the first full paragraph on page 483 in the print version I have, which is I think one of the original printings, first or second printing, I think. And it begins with "Given this reality" is where I've got us.
All
So
right, so let me find that where it says that
there
given
you
this
go,
tweet.
right there. Yep, you got it.
Okay,
Shall I start there?
absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. And this is the chapter entitled "Helen and Jesus: The Illusion and the Reality." Or excuse me, it's actually the section of that. The chapter is called "The Reality of Jesus." So anyway, Ken continues his commentary where we left off last week. Given this reality, we can now also understand the motivation behind the pamphlet, "The Song of Prayer," and its preceding message. By focusing on the specifics of her ego concerns, Helen was virtually able to bury the love of herself, and that's capital S self. The miracle of this love became sacrifice for the magic contained in the demands for answers to her questions. Well, once again, as we've been pointing out for the last 2+ years, Helen's resistance, that is eloquently and vividly expressed in Ken's biography here, is a reflection of our own, even though the form may be different and sometimes dramatically different. It's really the same principle, isn't it? That when we are resisting our reality, we kind of know what we're doing, and you can relate the kinda.
Yeah,
we 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 know what we're doing, and it's at least on some level. Um, Again, mostly buried and repressed, but there's that the true nostalgia of realizing that we never left home, and um, it really is accessible and available to our right minds, but we need to want to access that. We need to see how abysmally poor the ego thought system, the phony alternative, has been in making us happy consistently.
yeah. Well, and with poor Helen, she knew what she was doing. That's what. So, and of course, I know when I'm doing it too.
Exactly.
We
Yeah.
know when we're doing it,
So we're
and
not really poor then, huh?
Yeah, I know it's just like,
In
but
fact, I've got a perfect quote for that. If I can find it real quick. Go ahead though.
yeah, but yeah, it's she knew very well that she was in resistance. She knew, I mean, she would say it straight up, "Hey, I just don't like this," but 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 she still was compelled to do it, and she was also still uh really um I think mystified by it, but I think even more just not wanting to really believe it.
Yeah.
Um, and uh, maybe because it was coming out of her own mind, even though she was attributing it to Jesus, that maybe that she felt like it might not have been wholly worthy or something, or wholly good, because it was coming from her.
Hmm.
And because whatever reason, like for maybe for you and for me, for sure, when I found this material, I was like, oh my God, thank you. I'm so grateful that this is, showing me all this crap I'm thinking and doing. Oh my God.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
you
And
know,
that's real gratitude. And I think that recognition of a way out of the ego's madness is at the core of real gratitude. And it's not a comparative thing. It's really recognition that everyone has that ability to pull themselves out of the ego cesspool, dungeon, pit craziness. So I did find the quote I was looking for. There's another fellow course student who's sending me these little kinisms. And this one is from Ideas Leave Not Their Source that Ken Wapnick wrote. And it's a short paragraph. I'll just read. I think it fits in what we were just talking about, of the feeling sorry. Feeling sorry for people is such a hideously vicious thing to do, and you have no idea how hideously vicious it is. Because when you feel sorry for someone, when you feel what you think is compassion for someone, what you're doing, what you're saying, you poor, poor dear, look what has happened to you. Which means you're negating the only thing in the entire universe that can save them, which is the power of their mind to choose their situation and really choose their thought system, right? How could that possibly be construed as loving except by someone who's insane? Well, and we've all done that, probably are still doing that to a great extent. And and just realizing, oh, if I'm being pulled down, um, I'm not helping, whether it's my own um, discouragement, anxiety, depression, um, boredom, anger, grievance, jealousy, anything that's just less than perfectly peaceful. I'm basically jumping into the the pit with a shovel instead of a ladder when I see
yeah,
some, including myself, in a stuck situation. Anyway,
yeah,
I just thought that was particularly challenging, both challenging and insightful, and really, really helpful ultimately.
yeah. Thank you for that. And um, I appreciate that, other people are appreciating Ken quotes too. It's
Yeah.
like
Oh, yeah. There's some great ones.
the song that never ends. All right. So you're gonna continue.
Sure, sure. Um, okay. Let's see. Yes. By focusing on the specifics of her ego concerns, Helen was virtually able to bury the love of her capital S self. The miracle of this love became sacrifice for the magic contained in the demands for answers to her questions. Trying to do meet her alleged needs on that level instead of uh, rising up to bring her mind up to the light of Jesus's awareness, or the Holy Spirit's awareness, to see that the question had already been answered. Huh? Returning to our earlier analogy, instead of holding an almost infinite container to the flowing waters of Jesus, Helen presented him with the narrow thimble of her ego needs, that he might fill only that. In this sense, again, the love of Jesus was made more, quote, manageable, unquote. To repeat part of the message, a specific question is actually a decision about the kind of answer that is acceptable. The purpose of words is to limit, and by limiting, to make a vast area more manageable. Answers are not up to you. any limit you place on them interferes with hearing. Good reminder, huh? All the questions about specifics thus came to symbolize the limitation placed on love by fear. At first, at the lower rungs of our ladder of prayer, they can represent our attempts to join with Jesus in an acceptable way that would minimize our fear of uniting with his love. However, it is an easy temptation to become seduced by the quote answers unquote, and thereby avoid the true answer. Getting beyond this temptation again was the purpose of Jesus' message to Helen. It is always helpful, therefore, to be reminded of the difference between symbol and reality, appearance and truth. The forms of the world only have meaning to the extent that they help us to move beyond them to the content of God's love that is our only desire and goal. That's it. Our only real one, anyway. We our challenge is that we still, if we, well, we wouldn't need the course if we didn't have conflicting desires, and we can only have conflicting desires and interests and values if we're buying into ego's propaganda, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And all the ideas. One thing it says, however, it is an easy temptation to become seduced by the quote unquote answers
Hmm.
and thereby avoid the true answer.
Right.
And that's something that has been appearing to me quite a bit recently. Even though I know it's been happening the whole time, I just never noticed it. All right, or never thought about it actually.
Uh-huh.
Is that there's we spend so much time working on trying to alleviate symptoms of whatever the problem is that we think we're having, and so we set up a workshop to help increase your creativity, or to learn how to do prayer better, or
Hmm.
to I don't know what are some of these. I mean, there's a lot of them that are just being presented all the time.
And some are blatantly new agey, how to manifest what you want in your life
Right. Or how to
with Holy
spend.
Spirit's help, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. And so, all of those things, and a lot of course teachers are doing it. Um, course teachers and course students are doing the same thing. In fact, there's whole organizations that they have all these programs of, help yourself feel better about this, or fix yourself in this way, or whatever. And um, all of them are really avoiding the real problem,
Hmm.
because the real problem is a simple one, is that we think we're separate from God, and uh, we need to remember our connection with God,
Right.
and the love that we are. And no matter how artistic or creative, or how how I express whatever in this world, that's not. I mean, it may eventually bring me to the place where I remember the truth about what I am, but for the most part, they're just kind of how to make the dream feel better,
Right.
how to make yourself feel happier, how to give you. And so um
Dream repair.
there's a lot of answers that we're looking for. Help me feel better,
Hmm.
heal the world, heal this, whatever, terrible thing we think is happening, stop the war. All these things are really just diversions, and they're not ever going to get to the true answer. I mean, they may eventually, yes. but what's wrong with the direct method
Right.
of,
Right.
let me be still and listen to the
Yeah.
truth.
Yeah.
uh,
And there's nothing wrong with anything that is what we might consider uh, a mixed approach. It's just that when we're trying to mix what works with what doesn't, um, we're going to get mixed results. And but that's what we've been doing all along. So I think the course just points that out very clearly. Um, and and we usually realize that that's what we're doing on a pretty slow basis, and realize, oh, I'm still, whether or not I'm, blatantly trying to feather my dream nest, or make my relationships better, or improve my health or finances, or all the things in the dream of space and time. There's nothing wrong with that, and it's all magic. And like Ken says, breathing is magic. There's nothing wrong with magic. It's just that that's not the peace of God. And if what we really want is the peace of God, then doing things that distract us from that, it's not sinful, evil, or wicked. It's just silly,
Yeah,
as Ken would
yeah,
say. Yeah, yeah. It's,
yeah,
and the course says it
sure.
does aim to save us time. And so, I mean, and to the degree that we do the distractions, and think that that's, and especially, thinking that that's going to make us happy, we're just engaging in needless sacrificing, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, yeah,
And so that's
and
that's really the real compassion, is saying, oh, like that quote I read, about the feeling sorry. It's like, well, the real compassion is recognizing that we always can go home. It's, like Glinda telling Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, you could have gone home anytime you wanted, the ruby slippers metaphor.
yeah,
And
yeah,
the
yeah,
course is kind of doing the same thing. It's like, you know, we can forgive anytime we want, and a complete forgiveness thought really will lead to the complete undoing of the ego, and that's how we get out of get out of jail free.
yeah, 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 exactly, exactly, I don't think those ruby slippers were all that comfortable for that long walk she was on.
Yeah, yeah, really. The she was, Ruby Birkenstocks might not have been available in that era, so,
Back in those days, yeah.
or whatever. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
uh,
moccasins maybe. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. All right. So, you want me, I'll continue
Sure.
reading. Okay. So, from the perspective of this discussion on the meaning of prayer, we can return now to the quote unquote prayer meetings with Judy, Bill, Helen, and me, and our practice of asking for guidance with decisions regarding the worldly life of the Course. There is a danger in attributing everything that occurred in the early foundation years to inspiration. Yes, the quote, danger comes in presenting an ideal to the world that makes it extremely easy to set up a specialness model, wherein the students of Course in Miracles end up feeling like failures because they do not, quote, measure up, unquote, to the example we supposedly set. Mistakes were made during those early years, and there was nothing sacred or sacrosanct about how we proceeded. That we were well intentioned, there is no question, but students of the course are familiar with these very important cautionary words already partially quoted above from text chapter 18. Trust not your good intentions, they are not enough, but trust implicitly your willingness, whatever else may enter. And yeah, so the good intentions, uh, first off, we get caught up in good intentions because we think we know what should be happening. We have an idea of the outcome that we're looking for,
Hmm.
and so we invest our time and energy into making that outcome occur, whether or not that's what's supposed to happen.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's not even in the plan, which a lot of times it's not. And so we end up getting frustrated and angry because things didn't turn out the way we wanted them or expected them to do. But trust not your good intentions. You don't know what's going on.
Right.
They're
Right.
not enough. You can intentionally, do a lot of things that can really cause a lot of problems. Fortunately, that is not really true in reality. But um, stop imagining that I know what needs to be done and how to do it,
Hmm.
um, because I don't. So,
And
okay,
we're so quick to judge that what's happening or not happening in our space-time worlds, I've put worlds plural there because we think that we're in different worlds, and that's the, first law of chaos. We think that matters. but
Yeah,
what the course is telling us, the only thing that matters is, am I looking at my mind, and what it seems to be projecting with the Holy Spirit or with Jesus or with the ego, right?
yeah, that's
And
simple.
that's it. I mean, it distills down to that incredibly simple um, choice, and it's not all the gazillion horizontal ones that seem to be, so vital and needing defense and bolstering and support, on this level. And you know, it- we I think you brought up a really important idea is that we can think we know what's best for us and expend a lot of effort in certain directions, and then because of our expectations, we set ourselves up for disappointment when things don't turn out the way we want. Things that we want to happen don't happen, and things that um, we don't want to happen. And we've got plenty of examples in pretty much every lifetime for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, this is a trap we just fall into over and over and over.
Yeah.
And until, you come to the place where you can just flat out say, I just don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah.
And then the Holy Spirit's got you where he wants you. He needs you to be there
Hmm.
in that I don't know place, because that's the only way we're ever going to be able to be um, trained or educated.
Yeah. Yeah. If the
That-
if we've got a full glass, there's no room for more water.
exactly. Exactly. Okay, so this last reference, of course, is to the little willingness we are asked to give to the Holy Spirit to abandon our belief that we are correct in our perceptions, yeah, and values. So often, when people ask for specific answers to specific questions, they're really asking the Holy Spirit or Jesus to provide them with the answers for which they have already unconsciously wished.
Hmm.
Thus, they are bringing truth to illusion rather than illusion to the truth, as we are asked repeatedly to do in the Course. Since we made the world the illusion specifically to exclude the love of God, it is the height of the ego's arrogance then to ask God or his symbolic manifestations to enter it to help solve a problem he knows nothing about. That is why, again, A Course in Miracles asks us to bring our illusory beliefs and perceptions to the truth that is within our minds, where in the presence of its light, the darkness of our fears and concerns simply disappears. Yeah, it's just, yeah, and it's so funny. Yeah, God doesn't even know about these things, and we're asking Him, please help me, when we're the ones who invented it and may put it into the dream.
Hmm.
Hilarious.
Yeah. I had a conversation with a fellow course student yesterday, and somehow the purple line in Ken's chart reminded me of a childhood book of Harold and the Purple Crayon. It's
Yes.
did you remember that one?
Oh, yes, I love Harold and the Purple
Yeah.
Crayon.
Well, anyway, in that in that short little kid story, Harold um, draws if I remember the sequence right, he draws a dragon which frightens him with his crayon, and then he's backing up, but his hand is shaking. So as he's backing up, he's drawing waves of an ocean, and he realizes he's starting to drown in the ocean. So he draws a boat so that he can climb into the boat and be rescued. But it's all made up. It's all the crayon of our mind that's doing this fanciful projection. But instead of a purple crayon, we have a, a mind that is a holographic projector that works 24/7, um, and creates a dream that is so convincing that we rarely question the veracity of it, and the reality of what we're projecting, and that the projection is really the result of a repression of the sin, guilt, and fear that's in our mind because we've chosen the ego as our primary thought system. And no wonder we're we're crazy here.
Yeah, no wonder. Oh my gosh, yeah.
But
But yeah, I love that.
it's intentional, isn't it? I mean, it's we're moving the crayon. We're choosing the insanity of the ego every moment that we refuse to uh, admit we were wrong about everything and ask for help.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love it how Ken points it out here. That is so absurd.
Yeah.
It's just so absurd when you think about it. But when you're caught up in it, you're not, it doesn't seem absurd. It seems very real. And
Yeah.
that's what you have to keep reminding ourselves. This is a dream. This is a story. This is not really happening. Not just, as a mantra, but just a reminder, because otherwise, when you start taking things seriously, which we do on a regular basis, because that appears that it's a very serious situation. No, this world is in a serious situation. Look at what's happening here. Our weather is going crazy. Global warming's got us, everything. Ice caps are melting. That, I mean, we can look at all this stuff and become extremely afraid.
Right.
But yes, we made it with our own purple crayon, and and we can build a
And our
space
trembling hand that's making the waves.
making the waves.
Yep.
We can build a spaceship and go to the stars, and
Hmm.
we can do all sorts of things with that purple crayon, not just make this. But yeah, just reminding myself every time I asked for this, I made this, I asked for this, and it
Hmm.
is my dream.
Yep.
And if I see something unkind in my dream, I know it's because there's something unkind in my mind. If I see something fearful in my dream, I know there's something fearful in my mind. And that whether that's even true or not, to actually to look at your own thinking and determine what it is that you want to see and how you want to interpret what it is that you're seeing, that perception that comes up, that basically, when we're in what is the real world, perception comes to an end
Hmm.
because there's no longer any definition. I no longer have any definition of what is or should or is or whatever. I come to the place where I don't know. And I mean, that's like a newborn baby. Newborn baby doesn't know jack. But perception means nothing because it has nothing to relate to.
Hmm.
That's what we want to get to, is a place where we recognize that there is actually no relationship between anything and anything in the dream. Seriously, it seems like it's all coherent and makes a lot of sense, but that's my mind making it coherent and making it make sense.
Right. Or seem to
It
make sense.
seemed to make sense. Yeah, yeah.
I was
I'm
thinking,
making,
I was thinking of your example of a baby, and it's like, well, we from birth, we very rapidly begin to organize and categorize and sort all the sense perceptions into ego interpretations. It doesn't make them real. It just makes them, you know, uh, organized. It doesn't make them uh,
yeah,
sensible in truth. It just means now we have a way to put things in cubby holes and pigeonholes and and describe their apparent relationships between things that are different and make differences even more well defined, where the course is saying, well, what if that's working against your peace, is wanting to make big deals out of differences? And and I think that's kind of ties into what Ken Wapnick says about, you know, people who say, well, a child is born innocent and then the guilt is hoisted upon them. Well, no, we come with a fully developed ego, so we've already accepted. We came here because we wanted to traffic in sin, guilt, and fear. And if a baby needs a diaper change or feeding, they'll let you know that they're solidly in the ego thought system.
yes.
But 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 that's all of us. We just more sophisticated so-called adult bodies, but we're still still toddlers in terms of our ego minds anyway. But I just try to remember, it's like, well, there's no instant um, shift just going in and out of a body, because the course tells us we never have been in a body, which is we it's just a an optical delusion of consciousness. Tying into Robert's quote in the chat there, I think there might be two different quotes that you're mentioning, Robert. Einstein, was it Einstein that called the universe an optical delusion, albeit a persistent one? I think there are actually two quotes, and both of them are excellent, that you might be referring to. If I'm remembering it right, I'd have to Google it, but yeah, optical delusion of consciousness, I know, is one phrase that I'm pretty sure he used, and I think he's also said the universe is an illusion, albeit a persistent one. Yeah, those, yeah, great quotes. Thanks. Yep. Yep.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I don't know because I only have one computer, so I'm not going to go look that up either.
Yeah, but you can easily Google those and find them, and yeah, they're
Yeah.
good.
So,
Yep.
so you want me to keep reading here?
Let's see. Sure.
The ego thought system is almost all unconscious to us. And so, for the most part, we are unaware of the silent investments we have in the outcome of events. That's what I was just saying. That
Hmm.
when you don't invest in the outcome or even imagine an outcome, it it just completely shifts everything where it
Hmm.
has for me. This is the advantage to moving beyond specifics. There is far less likelihood of one's hearing being contaminated. In the section on Helen's special messages, I mentioned Helen's unreliability when it came to specifics. To restate this important point, unconscious ego conflicts and demands most easily surface when one's attention is riveted on specific questions, needs, and outcomes. When one is at rest in the peace of God, there is no serious concern with outcomes, and the answer is always known and understood. This does not mean, certainly, that decisions are not necessary. As Jesus states in the Song of Prayer, there are decisions to make here, and they must be made whether they be illusions or not. From the Song of Prayer, section 1.
Hmm.
Okay. And in the psychotherapy pamphlet, Jesus reminds us that even an advanced therapist has some earthly needs while he is here, meaning that some attention needs to be given to money. The point is that the problem lies in placing emphasis on hearing the specific answer to a question, for such concern draws away from the real answer.
Hmm.
And it could be that you're asking the wrong question entirely.
Right.
So, when you're asking for the answer to your question, that
Mhm.
it may not be what you really want.
And sometimes we have silent investments in the outcome events, and sometime in the income as well,
Yeah,
right?
in the income.
Tying into his comment about money.
Exactly. That's funny. So thus, when the course was being taken down by Helen, part of her mind rested with Jesus, and his message of love and truth passed through her mind, purely and without impediment. Concern with decisions regarding the course, however, was always a product of a split mind that was invested in what was done. And so the quote answers, unquote, lacked the purity of the course itself, because there's special desires or wants investing.
Hmm.
Once again, it is essential not to forget the crucial distinction between form and content. It was the love of Jesus alone, the content, that was the source of A Course in Miracles. But the guidance regarding its life in the world of form came, I believe, from minds that were often too involved in the answers of the world and not necessarily the answer of heaven. And I'm just thinking in specific about like when they ask Helen how many copies they should print, and she said what, 5 or 6 or something, because nobody would really want to read a book that tells them that they're not there.
And I
And
think, oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that just going to say the that reminds me of, I think it's almost the same number of the head of IBM when, computers were being invented. I think said something like, well, there's probably a worldwide market for maybe a half dozen computers, you know. One of those famous quotes to live down. But yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it reminds me when I met my husband back in 1974, and he told me, yes, I will have a computer in my house someday. And I was like, because at that time, to me, a computer, I was going to school at the community college and we had a computer. It was a room and it was filled with reel to reel tapes. And there were uh, punch cards.
Mhm.
And I mean, it was like, you're going to have this in your house someday. How can that be? You know,
When you mention the Hollerith cards and the key punch machine and the mag tapes, it reminds me of when I was in high school, Livermore High School in California. We had a little special program that was available to I think juniors and seniors to learn Fortran, and then we'd go out and punch our Fortran decks and feed them into the card reader and print out our programs. And on the big line printer that was the 132 character line printer, I think it was. And anyway, so the control data 3400 facility down East Avenue in Livermore, California, we'd all cram in the back of Larry Tamplin's little Volkswagen bus with our deck of cards. And one day he said, "Well, let's have a little treat." And so we stopped what we were doing, and he loaded up this tape on the tape drive. And this wasn't done in Fortran or even assembly language; it was done in machine language, which was very impressive. And I had a recording of it, a mediocre recording of it actually, but of what this guy had done, his wizardry of mastering machine language. He had basically on the tape, he had the program loaded so that it would go into the computer and it would play uh, musical notes on the computer because it would move data back and forth from the accumulator, if I remember correctly, and the speed at which it did that would trigger the speaker, so he could make different single tones. I mean, that's all it could do, but it was enough to have a melody line. And then the tape drives, he could program them to wind and rewind fast enough that it made a bass notes. And so there's the second part of the three device band. And then the third part was the line printer behind the operator's console there that was printing out American flags. And the reason it was doing that is because the two other parts um, were the Stars and Stripes Forever. So the Stars and Stripes melody was being played on the console where the operator sat. The bass line was on the tape drives that were that kind of thing. And so the melody, and then of course the printer was printing out flags, but it was doing it with a drum beat,
oh,
and it was quite a quite a high-tech spectacle for a bunch of us teenagers that were learning the rudiments of Fortran and programming, and anyway, stuck in my mind. It was pretty fun.
yeah, I'm so creative and probably took them hours and hours and
Oh,
hours.
it must have taken an enormous amount of time to do that machine language, but
Yeah.
he figured out a shortcut. I don't know, but anyway, it was
Oh
it, was-
gosh,
it was
never.
only a couple minutes long, but it was sure impressive as all get out.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be very impressive, is right.
Yeah, yeah.
So, how funny.
I,
And
I
now
wish I wish I could go back in time with a camcorder because that'd be a really good historical moment back in the early 70s. Yeah.
that's funny. Yeah, that
Remember
is.
Geigo? Yes, garbage in, garbage out. Well, that's yeah. Ego in, ego out is garbage in, garbage out, right? You got it. Yep.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
Thanks, Dev.
that's
The whole
hilarious.
room was air conditioned. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And you
Oh
were
my.
working on it with, yeah. Uh-huh. 70, 90 for train. Yep. Very cool. Yeah. So it sounds like Dev's had similar
Yeah,
background in the whole legacy software uh, business. Yeah.
yeah. He started out his career with IBM, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Nice.
okay.
Fun.
So let's see. Where am I at? Okay.
So, yep. Meanwhile, both
Okay.
programs.
So. Let's see. It was the love of Jesus alone, the content that was the source of A Course in Miracles. But the guidance regarding its life in the world of form came, I believe, from minds that were often, I just read this, all too involved in the answers of the world and not necessarily always the answer of heaven. Part of this special message of October 5th, 1975, is deserving of a repeat quotation. To God, all things are possible, but you must ask his answer only of himself.
And there's our
Perhaps,
50th anniversary there for this month, huh?
yeah, amazing. Yep, 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 yep. October 1975.
Yep.
Interesting. Perhaps you think you do, but be you sure that if you did, you would be quiet now and wholly undismayed by anything. Do not attempt to guess his will for you. Do not assume that you are right because an answer seems to come from him. Be sure you ask and then be still and let him speak.
Mhm.
Yup. And don't just say, oh, yeah, he agrees with me. This is how it should be.
My Ouija board is telling me to go get another cookie
Yep, exactly.
from the
Did
fridge.
you know? Uh, so this extremely important caution against believing what the inner voice is God, that the inner voice is God's, simply because one experiences it as such, was underscored by this statement in the manual for teachers. Quote, only very few can hear God's voice at all. End of quote from the manual 12. Before continuing on, I should like to introduce a slight digression to tell a story that points up the mistake of holding Helen or any of our holy group as an example of impeccable hearing regarding specifics. Some time ago, I received a telephone call from a very distraught man who related to me how he had been receiving specific guidance from the Holy Spirit over the past few years. I do not recall most of the details of our conversation, but I do remember that he was being told very specific things regarding places, dates, etc. One piece of this guidance stated that he was going to die on a specific date, which was due now in 3 days. And this man was calling me the day before he was supposed to enter the hospital for minor surgery, which was to take place the very day this Holy Spirit told him would be his last. I explained to him the confusion of form and content, using Helen's hearing mistakes as examples, including her errors in the death dates of Louis, Bill, and herself. Fortunately, he understood and, feeling relieved, entered the hospital for his surgery. A week or two later, he called me to tell me he was safely home, still alive, the operation a success, and he was obviously very much alive. I frequently caution students of A Course in Miracles about this kind of mistake, urging them to be suspicious of any specific guidance they receive,
Mhm.
even more so when Jesus and the Holy Spirit sound urgent or demanding. Love is always patient,
Yep.
since it knows not of time. The
Hmm.
content may be from the Holy Spirit, but the form always is the product of the individual's separated mind.
Yep. So I read
Yep,
the last couple of paragraphs in this
sure.
section. Okay, and then I'll need to leave a few minutes early. A good example of this confusion of form and content is the quote explanation unquote Helen received about the course's timing. The quote celestial speed up unquote message, see above, and on lists of page 200 F, whatever that is. Unfortunately, this story is frequently taken by students of A Course in Miracles to be the literal truth. Rather, it should be understood as a set of symbols that were adapted to Helen's conceptual level of understanding at the time, and the meaning of which is beyond all concepts. Thus, this quote explanation unquote was the form in which Helen could best understand the startling events of that summer of 1965. In an important passage already alluded to, Jesus teaches the value of the atonement, by which is meant here any expression of love from the Holy Spirit, that was in brackets, does not lie in the manner in which it is expressed. In fact, if it is used truly, it will inevitably be expressed in whatever way is most helpful to the receiver. This means that a miracle, to attain its full efficacy, must be expressed in a language that the recipient can understand without fear. This does not necessarily mean that this is the highest level of communication of which he is capable. It does mean, however, that it is the highest level of communication of which he is capable now. The whole aim of the miracle is to raise the level of communication, not to lower it by increasing fear. That's such an important idea. And that's, meeting people where they're at and not, yanking people's, support structure out from underneath them. And really, usually, but that's when we do that, I'll speak for myself. When I have found that I've done that over the years, it's really because of my own insecurities that I want someone else's dream world to improve so I can, use that to support my dream world. And think that I've got some kind of safety net if everyone else around me, you know, things work better. Well, by by which means uh, by which I mean, um, you know, better in terms of what my ego thinks it is supposed to be doing, right? Yeah. So I'll finish
Yeah.
that last couple of paragraphs real quick here. Again, Helen's ego was not able at that point in her life to understand the illusory nature of time, which would have been too fearful for her. It did not get discussed in the course until much later. Therefore, as Helen's thinking was still subject to the belief in time as linear, the level of explanation she could accept was commensurate with this belief. If she required an explanation later on, which she did not, it would doubtlessly have come in a more sophisticated fashion. I conclude this chapter with some comments and examples regarding Helen's wisdom. I cite these as evidence for the holiness of the capital S, I added the word capital S, the self that was always present in her, though well hidden most of the time. I
Well,
think that again, I think we can so relate to that when we're being honest with ourselves. We have this font of wisdom in our minds that is truly brilliant, and all of us do have that. Everyone has that. It's just we keep it pretty well hidden, don't we, at times? And
absolutely.
there's nothing to beat ourselves up about in that regard. It's just to notice when I'm resisting the truth. I'm going to make all and dabbling, traffic in specifics, thinking the specifics are going to make me happy or not. I'm kind of missing the whole point of the course. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just really interesting, because Helen was not able to understand that time is not linear.
Hmm.
This whole idea of the celestial speed up, which so many people, even myself, I've thought about it quite a bit, because it does seem to be that there things are moving quite quickly now, much more quickly than they appeared to be moving when I was younger. That's for sure. As far as what's happening with uh, the weather and the governments and the world, but that's my perception again.
Hmm.
uh, I'm sure to a caveman, this would be, they would lose their minds, if they they appeared in this world and had all the saw everything that was happening the way that it is. Uh, you know, it has there's nothing gone wrong, nothing changed.
Yeah.
Um, anyways, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and move forward, and I'm going to mark this page.
Okay.
We'll start with the unconscious priestess next week. Yay.
Okay.
We're getting
Okay.
very close. We're 95% done with this book.
Yep. Yep. Enjoying it immensely. Well,
Yeah.
again, thank you, Lynn, for sharing another hour, and I always look forward to our conversations immensely. So
Thank you so much,
have a
Bruce.
great week, everyone, and look forward to picking up where we left off.
All right. See